Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to the first ever Indie Please Add Details. My name's Keegan, I'm one half Love 2 Gamers. This is Tom, the other half. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm grand, how are you?
I'm good. I think they might be a little bit confused.
Yeah, where'd TCSX go?
TCSX is no longer a thing, and that's not because we didn't like it. It's because we kind of felt like there's already too many PlayStation podcasts.
So all of my notes are null and void?
Yes, at this point, they're gone. One of the things, though, that's interesting, and this isn't just like a whim thing. We talked about it when we were launching TCSX, whether we wanted to do only indies or PlayStation, and we kind of went back and forth. And the reason we did TCSX was because we had the artwork done, and we've always said we're indie and VR.
We love all platforms. We do love Sony more because we have it and we play it more, but I think it's fair to say that
there's good games on every platform.
There are so many people covering it.
We're fanboys of platforms we like, but we're not fanboys to the point that we think other platforms suck.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it.
But we had an epiphany. Somewhat
at Pixel Pop, which we're going to talk about in this episode. We're
going to get into it, but we had an epiphany recently, and we wanted to do more for small developers and for people making those unique experiences, and we figured the best way to do that would be to do this. So this is Indie Please Add Details.
A little bit of housekeeping before we jump in, though.
Go ahead.
As you guys, if you follow us at all, you probably saw a couple weeks ago, Tom posted a video that we weren't here. There's been no podcast for the last 2 weeks. If you're new, I'll give you a brief summarization of what happened. Found out a couple weeks ago that my grandma was in the hospital. She had a terminal illness, so I was obviously not in a good mindset. Went up to go visit her that Thursday, which was that Tuesday. I don't think we recorded. That was the Tuesday we didn't record before that because I had learned earlier that week that I was like, I'm not good. Or she's not good, and so my head was not with it. So then I went up with her that Thursday. Best decision of my life because she was still what I picture grandma being. She was still talking, still there. I mean, she was in a hospital bed and drugged up, but not drugged up to the point where she had no idea what's going on. Yes. As the day went on and went down, next morning I get up. My mom was at the hospital. I was the first one there besides her. She walks out before I walk in the room, and she goes, "Doctor came and said, like, we're in the last stages here. Like, this is it." Yeah. So she called her siblings in, and at that point I left, because I was not going to be there to make the decision of what happened to grandma once she passes. I had to go back to work because where we worked was a busy weekend, so I had to do that. We also had Pixel Pop that weekend, which we'll talk about.
Yep.
And then Sunday morning, I got official word that she had passed. And then at that point, just waiting for funeral arrangements. That's why we didn't record last Tuesday. And then the funeral was on Thursday. I'm glad because like those days of the week are all just a blur.
I know the last 2 weeks has been a big blur for you, I think.
So it's all just sleep and not doing much. So I went up, obviously, on Thursday. I was a pallbearer, which...
Is that your first time?
First time, and it's probably the first funeral, other than my aunt, that I really... Because my grandpa, when he died in 96. My other one died, I think, in 99, maybe 98. So I wasn't very old. I was born in 91, for reference. So that was going on. We buried her. We had a lot of food, a lot of people, and then we had to go through the process of cleaning out her house, taking sentimental things. There's two things I took that were sentimental. The rest were kind of like practical, like kitchen stuff. The two sentimental things is grandma had grandma's paddle. I should have brought it, but grandma's paddle always hung up next to her calendar.
Her paddle?
Yeah, it's
beating children paddle?
Well, that's the joke, but it's a soft hand.
Oh, okay.
So grandpa, the memory I have was my grandpa putting it in his sleeve, and you'd pull it out, and he's like, and would freak out.
Okay.
But that was always something when I went home, you'd always see grandma's paddle in the kitchen, like next to the calendar. The other thing is she had a rock that said welcome with birds on it, like out on her front porch. So I took that. I have it right now on my back porch, but if I get home, it'll be out there. And like I said, kitchen stuff. Came back this weekend. That's why we didn't stream on Sunday, because I was, again, kind of getting back into reality. I'd say probably about Saturday was when things went back to normal for me. When it came to what I was doing.
They never really get back to normal, but they get to a point where they're manageable.
Yeah, I think holiday season's going to be rough because we don't know what we're going to do. She brought everybody together. Cried a lot, ate a lot, probably gained a lot of weight. Don't care. But that's what's been up the last 2 weeks. So if you guys are new, that's what's been going on. If you guys have been here, that's what's been going on. And I just wanted to say thank you. I got probably close to 100 plus messages from people, either friends and or subscribers or whatever it may be, just saying, hey, you were in our thoughts, prayers, whatever it may be. So with that, let's get on a happy note, Tom.
Sure. Let's tell them what it is.
This is Indie. Please add details. This is our weekly dip into the world of indie games and developers, where we discuss the news and our indie excursions throughout the week. Topping it all off with a discussion that you can join. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast services, or see our lovely faces and additional gameplay footage on YouTube at Level 2 Gamers STL. Go to level2gamers.com.
Nicely done. That'll get easier every time we do it.
To continue the discussion after the show, hit us up on Level 2 Gamers STL on Twitter. We literally just came up with that. That's my first time reading it out loud.
There you go. It's going to get better. Episode 1, what are you going to do? But it is a good time to jump into this show.
Detail number one. What do we got? Detail number one.
Detail number one is what I did throughout the recent weekend that we just came back off of. And you may have noticed for the last week in our absence that there's been a lot of content being added to the channel, roughly 2 a day, 11:30 and 5:30 CT.
Trailers and
we've added a bunch of trailers too, but more specifically the ones that have the big white thumbnail with the pink writing. And those are specifically from a indie game developer festival that is held here every year in St. Louis.
For 4 years.
Yeah, for the last 4 years. And that's called Pixel Pop. And it's getting more and more traction around sort of the world. There was a lot of people that wanted to come from different areas of the world. There was a lot of people that did come from really far-flung places in America, like Brooklyn and things like that. But yeah, I mean, for us, it was our first time. It was eye-opening, yeah, because like we usually do cons, as you know. We go to the cons, we get the celebrities,
we go to the big one, yeah,
and that kind of stuff. But this one was lucky for us because St. Louis has a really good sort of Twitch scene, and
the gaming co-op they've got the developer co-op.
Yeah, the developer co-op is really big too. So we have a really tight-knit family of game developers and content creators here. So we are lucky enough to know Carol Mertz, who was the executive director of this,
who sadly
year's festival.
I think she moved to New York as of recording tomorrow.
Yes,
which is kind of sad.
She's on her way to New York, but it's for a great reason, and we're happy for it.
There's an interview with her. If we're good, we'll do the boop. But I've been really bad at doing the boops.
But and we know a couple other folks as well, like Adrian from Geek for a Living, and some of our friends here, and they let us in to do press for the event, and we knew it wasn't going to be like a con in terms of it being like us just running around like headless chickens. And we could basically take our time with it. So what we did was
I wasn't there Saturday. It was Saturday and Sunday.
The first day I ran solo.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday. So you were there by yourself on Saturday.
I was.
I joined you on Sunday.
You obviously had your things you were dealing with, and apparently that was a good idea because, like you said, Saturday was the day you kind of felt a little better.
Well, no, that was the day before I found out. So I found out that morning that she had passed.
Oh, right.
Like that, I recorded. So if you go back and watch any of those developer interviews, it's weird for me to watch myself, and because I knew how I felt that day, and I felt like shit, but you can't tell.
Yeah.
It's called being a professional, even though I'm not.
But it was, so the first day, basically, I was on my lonesome, and I caught a couple developers. It took me
Learned how to use the camera.
It took me a while to figure out how to use exposure. You may notice from the darkness
turn it up,
of
Tom.
those interviews. But we did catch like a really nice panel that day, and I got to catch up with our good friend Easily, and there was a bunch of other guys there, Aurelian, W. Gates, who is a dog on Twitch, apparently.
Charlie St. Monica. She actually streamed that panel yesterday. I hopped into it. Yeah. So she had it on her Twitch channel, talking to her peoples about it, and I was hopped in and said, "Hey,
it's cool. It was a good time." The Silver Fox was there as well. But basically, like a lot of Twitch guys were there, and obviously a lot of game developers. And the game developers came from far and wide, and it was one of the first instances I think where we've had them actually like email us because we were, believe it or not, one of the bigger press people,
which is weird to think,
which is really bizarre on the list.
I think part of that's because we've made the connections with the people in. I mean, the big one obviously is Carol because she runs the whole thing. But Adrian, Mary, I met, who is part of Battle Cakes. Volcano Bean. So I've met them. We met them throughout the time going to Wizard World and all these other things. But it was really, really interesting getting those emails. And I was like, we get the email. Because they get sent it to our email we both see, and I was like, "Hey, did you see this?" I'm like, "Yeah." I was like, "Cool, let's figure out what we got to do because this is weird. We've never done this."
Yeah,
we've covered it, but never.
It was a unique experience for us as a channel because we always refer to ourselves as indie media.
We go rogue.
This is we go rogue as shit, as you may have noticed from our other videos of Harley Quinn. But it was nice because we were at the top of the list for press, and we had people that emailing us and just saying, like, we had Ben Pointer from Marshall's Theory and Looking Glass emailed, like, hey, I'd really love you guys to come check this game. Defend Neo Tokyo, which we thought was a video game until we got there and found out it was a board game, but it still had kaiju and giant monsters and mechs, and I was like, I don't fucking care if it's a board game. We're going to do this anyway. And they were really, really super nice guys from Gateway Games. So basically, the Saturday I went kind of as as well as I could by myself and tried to get as much footage as possible. And then the Sunday you joined me. But it was a great time. It was really nice. I did love the display. It was held at St. Louis University.
I was surprised by the room because still a couple of things I was surprised about. You go in with this in my head, because it's fourth year, it's a smaller thing. You go in with this mentality of like, there's going to be stuff, but not very much. Like, can you really fit 2 days worth of stuff into this?
This is the first year they expanded to 2 years as well. Usually it's just one.
One day?
2
years.
2 year festival.
They did it for 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 days.
And it was interesting because when I went in there, one of the things, first of all, Ian from Stacks on Stacks on Stacks was there, and I was like,
you're like,
you got to go get that game. By the way, if you don't know that game, go look it up. It's SOSOS.com, I believe, or look Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. PS4, PC. Love that game. I played the build he just put out.
SOSO.com.
No, Stacks on Stacks on Stacks, so it ends on an S. SOSOS.
SOSOS.com.
Yes.
Yeah,
or just look Stack on Stack on Stacks game.
Yeah. It's a great game.
But I was surprised. So that one I already knew. I had talked to Mary before, so I knew her game was going to be there with Volcano being the Battle Cakes. But the one that got me was Zap Blastum.
Blastum.
And Globlo, I think is the name of it.
Glogo.
Glogo. That one was the one I was like, because they're like, level 7 is going to be the hard. If you watch the video during the, I don't know if it's in the gameplay. I know it's in the developer one.
The gameplay is your gameplay, and I did release the gameplay separately. So everything in the interview is you, and everything on the by itself is you too.
So level 7, the one I restart constantly, is the hardest level they had at that point, which wasn't the last level, but I was like, I got this.
And we learned that they designed it that way on purpose. They're quite malicious with their level design. But no, we had so many wonderful people that we met there. So I guess we should talk a little bit about that. On the first day, I got to meet some folks out there.
On the first day of Pixel Pops, Tom ran into.
So we saw our good friend Easily, who we both have previously worked with in the past, and she was there representing Twitch, and she had a panel to be at, so I made sure that I recorded that.
The Aurelian is actually the Twitch community manager.
Yeah, Aurelian is the Twitch community manager.
She's a big one.
She's a big deal.
She's real nice, though. Yeah, she reached out to me on Twitter at some point, and I was like,
she's a sweetheart, yeah.
I'm drinking my Red Bull, by the way.
And with Easily was Mob Lord and I forget last dude's names. It's like Zack Attack 987 or something, or 789, one of those two.
I don't remember.
But he's a nice guy as well. And basically that panel was about how content creators can work together with developers, because that's
which we learned a lot from.
We struggle with that, yeah, because when you're looking at indie media and indie games, you think obviously a lot of the indie game developers want to get their stuff on IGN or whatever, right? And that's normal. That's something to be expected.
PlayStation blogs that are going for a lot of people.
Yeah, anywhere that's going to get massive exposure. Obviously, they want the big names. Obviously, we want the big name games, and we want to get like AAA keys and even AA keys would be nice. But mostly, we end up with indie keys, and that's also fine because that's where we're at as far as a channel. So the fact that this whole entire thing was talking about, hey, why don't you lower tier developers and lower tier content creators start getting together and actually forming some alliances? And you can get payment in different ways. Like, we could get payment. We're not going to ask for money to play a game, but we might ask for 10 codes to give away during the stream of the game so that you get free stuff. And then
people are playing your game, and if it has microtransactions, or they're going to tell their friend, hey, did you hear about this game I picked up?
It's all good for them. They love the feedback. They love the press, obviously, even if it's small press. But I mean, we get anywhere from, really at this point it's anywhere from like 8 to 500 views depending on the video, and and so it's touch and go with us, but like commonly we're more in the like 30 to 50 range. It's slowly been going up. Like, I looked at, it's getting alright.
I don't look at stats very often, as like, because I don't care about, you care about viewership, you care about community, but to me, numbers don't mean a whole hell of a lot as long as people are enjoying it. But I did look the other day at lifetime views, and it shows you from when we started in 2015 to where we are today, total or views, like for each month, and it was like this. It got a peak during the E3 coverage, came back down, and then slowly this last probably 6 months since we've done the new stuff is just kind of, you can see it just slowly growing up, and it makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's a good.
I mean, there's peaks and valleys on everything.
And as you know, we're not afraid to change things up. Hello, this is a new podcast. How are you? But
I think we're pretty well set though.
This is the one that was the most controversial for us to decide.
Because like I said before, we debated whether we should have done it.
Everything else has felt good. The TCSX was the only one.
Morpheus
that we were kind
staying the same.
Like, let's hope it works okay. If it doesn't, then let's not be afraid to change it into something indie, and that's what we've done. And we're pretty comfortable
and
now
we've
with
both
the podcast
said.
situation.
I mean, the format might tweak depending on what you guys think. But we've always said we've been VR and indie developers, VR and indie media. Like, that's our focus, because I don't feel like people cover that enough.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, there's a bunch of indie developers out there that want to get their game out.
You know what's really amazing, actually, and something that I learned at Pixel Pop was that there's so like, when you go in there with your little camera and your tripod and your microphones and everything, like
people swarm around you.
It's mostly hidden to begin with because everything's in my bag and I'm just carrying a tripod with a camera. But as soon as I break out the tripod and set it up and get the audio balanced and get the microphones plugged in, and I'm waiting for the developer to be ready to do the interview, like they start going, oh shit, I got a microphone. Like, this is like a real interview. This is not just some dude filming me on Facebook Live or whatever.
The other thing I noticed too, because they said a lot of times they'll have it where like somebody takes a phone and just does this, and I was like, well, that's not professional. The other thing I've noticed, I don't know if you noticed when we were doing them, but when interviews were going on, the crowd would form around us because it's drawing attention to that, which is twofold. One, it draws attention at the festival or at the convention. When you did, I can't remember his name, the Japanese drawing dude,
the Kyo Pop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you guys were doing that interview, I was talking to, I think it's his girlfriend or wife or whatever.
Significant other.
And we were both looking or talking to each other. We kind of both looked up at the same time and just saw like a crowd of people just staring at what you guys were doing. And I think afterwards they ended up stopping by and looking at the art. And that's so cool, because that's what we want to do. Our goal is not to say, oh, look at us, it's level 2, the best people in the world. It's spotlight these people that are doing really cool things. We're just the vessel to show you that information.
We're happy if you like us and our personalities, but most of all, we want to put a spotlight on someone else.
Yes.
And that's why we do.
Hopefully you watch because of our personalities, but our ultimate goal, I think, is to, again, be that vessel of like, check out this cool thing.
We've seen some really cool shit lately, and I think that a lot of people have been on board with it, and I know they are.
That Noor controller.
We have a lot of comments coming in from these indie games and from these developers that are like, oh wow, this looks actually really interesting. So so while we were at Pixel Pop anyway, we got a couple good developer interviews. So we got the panels obviously, but then we got Colin from the Micah game from Me Less Than 3, which was a really great little game. That one probably was my favorite of the entire thing.
I didn't play it.
No,
I didn't play very many.
That was a day one game.
Yeah. I played, I think,
super
3 or 4.
interesting little game. And then we had some of the more interesting ones. I think Battle Cakes was a lot of fun, obviously, because we kind of knew Mary and Jean, and they're putting a lot of work into
I'm excited
that
to see what that becomes, because their demo wasn't very long, but they kind of had 3 separate demos. One was the gameplay, which was awesome because you go through the town.
Like
the art style was amazing, and the battle, and then the maps. And it was just cool because it gives you an idea of what the game's going to be. Yeah, and
a lot of work to go still.
That. Oh yeah,
for sure. Early. But that's what I love about it. I love being in that creative process where like you catch a game at its very, very bare minimal. So by the time it gets to full fruition, we get to see.
Well, my favorite's when we ask them a question, like, "So, did you think about this?" We're like, we're thinking about it, but we don't know yet. Yeah, because it's so early for a lot of these people that they don't know what they have a vision for the final product, but I'm sure it's hard to get to that vision just because it takes effort and time to see what works and what doesn't.
TJ, always a pleasure. TJ is a very interesting dude. And from Noor,
David told me he loved that game.
Yeah, it's weird as shit. It really is, but it's a wonderful idea.
Did you see his tweet
Play with your food.
yesterday or a couple days ago? Where he's like, hey, does it, well, no, I'm talking about for music, for popping out toast.
Oh, no.
He sent out a tweet saying, does anybody know anybody who can make music that would be good for when you pop out toast? And I was like, I know exactly what that's for.
Yeah, he's basically crowdsourcing all of his sort of like arts and stuff from Twitter, which is amazing. He actually told us in the interview how he had someone like scan a piece of toast to put in said toasters, and how he got ice cream and all kinds of stuff. So really bizarre looking game, but a lot of fun, I'm sure. And the controller was unique and stuff. So Anyway, the Defend Neo Tokyo guys were great. We're not huge into board games, really. I used to play a little bit, but, you know...
I played Sorry back in the day. That's about it.
Yeah,
Maybe Monopoly Junior.
Vampire the Masquerade was a bit
I played Risk. That's probably the most, like,
Dragons-y.
traditional board game I played when it comes to, like, not the family board games.
Right.
Was Risk.
But they were super nice, and we had a good time checking out Defend Neo Tokyo. Again, for us, it's nice twofold because we get to do the local stuff, and for we put STL on the name of our accounts for a reason, for the most part, and that is
it's not just because it's easier to find us.
Yeah, it's because
reason.
we actually love repping STL and the amazing development teams that live in this place, and even Carol mentioned it during the interview. But there's so many things you don't think of, like the NVIDIA offices being here and League of Legends being here, and like just all these kind of incredible things that are going on that are getting passed over, perhaps because STL is not quite considered to be a booming game town, but it's close.
On the cusp.
It's so close because they give grants for making games here. It's cheap to live here, and the tech industry is just getting more and more impressive in this area. So, super great time. I had a lot of fun on day one. What was your favorite thing on day two?
I really like Battle Cakes. Zap Blastem is probably my favorite. The only concern I have there is it was touch-based, so like I won't play it on a computer. Well,
they do have a cursor version for a computer. It's like clicking.
But it's also on iOS and Android, so I'll probably get it there if I pick it up.
Play it on iOS, I think, the style of it.
It was really interesting, though, because like I'm very much shit on mobile games. I think mobile games that, it's going to sound really bad when I say, but serious mobile games, I don't like. Like there was that Infinity Blade or whatever it was.
Blade,
never
Glory,
not a fan of those, but I'll do like, let me play Family Feud, or let me play
games.
let me play Frozen Freefall. So like the time kill, because when I'm playing like a game, I tend to go to console, or now going to be a little bit more PC as well. But that game it divisioned me. It gripped me, and I was like, this is so cool. The only complaint I had, and it was because early on, was some of the we talked about it afterwards a little bit, was when I would tap on one side, like the guy would peer out slightly and he'd get shot, and I couldn't go quick enough back because the animation was too slow.
Yeah.
But those are things that are easily fixed. I mean, it's an early developed game.
Well, that's why he's out there. That's why the developers go to these small things, so that they can get feedback on games.
Glogo. I can never get the name right.
I called it Glogo the first time I went there, so I think Glogo stuck in my head after that.
One of the things I told them is being colorblind.
Yeah,
they need to take that into account on some of the things.
Yeah, they hadn't thought of that at all either. So there was interesting kind of. I
tried to pull up a thing so they could see what I could see, but I had no network at that point, and I also had other things I had to take care of. I was supposed to do that interview, but I got a call from Mom saying, "Hey, we got to figure out what's happening," because again, Grandma had passed away. Figuring out what happened there, and I was like, "Tom, you're doing this."
Yeah,
Bye.
I was unprepared.
Yeah, I was unprepared too.
But it
went well.
It's fun. It's guerrilla video, man. That's what we do. But
it's independent media.
It's just nice because now we've done Wizard World, we've done Indie Popcorn, which is obviously probably the best thing we've done so far. I would say I think
Indie Popcorn, we can both agree, is going to be one we're probably going to keep going with.
Yeah,
like that's Wizard World. We've discussed a little bit just because it's not as much gamey. It's more.
It was still fun.
Else. It was fun, but more as a fan, I think.
Indie Popcorn's more YouTube centric, so it makes more sense for us.
And then this was
really, really great as well. And I think we're going to try and get on the register for GDEX next year as well.
There also was one this past weekend, Missouri.
Mo GameCon.
Yeah, Mo GameCon. I'd be interested to see what it is. I knew a couple of people that were there.
I'm a little upset we didn't get an invite as stars of YouTube.
Oh, I mean, it's whatever. Silver Fox was there. She covered. She was doing some of the streaming stuff with. So the reason I knew about it was not because of local things. There's a. Do you know Metal Jesus Rocks? Mm-hmm. So I was watching his channel, and he has his peeps that he hangs out with. So Reggie, and. I can't think of the guy's name. I'll say John Hancock, but that's not the right guy. I can't think of the other dude's name right now. And then Kelsey. I follow Kelsey on Twitter because I like her channel. And she tweeted that she's coming to Missouri, and I was like, what are you coming to Missouri for? And she tweeted back like, hey, there's a thing, a Gamescom, Retro Gamescom going on. I was like, oh, I didn't have any idea. And that's how I found out about it, was from her, who lives in Seattle.
In like some paper somewhere.
And then St. Charles has one too.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 that I feel like we should now look to see what's local and be like surprised. But that's for us to figure out, not for you guys. We'll just give you the coverage.
We're tangenting into our own self-business. So let's talk about indies, because that's why you're here. Pixelpop is a great festival to go to if you get chance, and if you haven't had chance yet, we do have an entire playlist of all of those game developer interviews alongside the panels and all the other information. So we do recommend that you check that out. That was running through the entirety of last week.
Yep.
So with that being said, let's talk about some of the indie games we actually have been playing.
Detail number 2, Tom.
Detail number 2, you can start.
So one of the things that's been going on, and it was really funny because, again, the last kind of 2 weeks has been a blur, and then Saturday came, I was back to normal. I was like, I got to get shit done, because we ended up, you went crazy with talking to developers in the background, and we got a bunch of keys for stuff. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I just gamed. I overwatched in between there too, but I gamed.
Are you still watching Overwatch as well? With the
yeah, the last qualifying thing was this weekend too. So like in between watching, playing, so watching Overwatch, and playing indie games, I was sleeping.
Did some stuff.
Yeah. By the way, Team UK, you have to watch that match. No, they had one of the greatest matches with I think it was. I can't remember the team they went against, but it was just one of those things where like they should have lost 3 or 4 times and just fucking brought it back, and you're like, oh my god, US is in it too. So we might have to watch it if US UK face off.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it if US versus UK. We'll do that.
We'll do that. But anyways, the games. One of the games we got was Misfits. The Misfits. And one of the things I want to say right now is we're gonna have the gameplay behind us. If you're watching, if you're listening, you can head over to level2gamers.com to see it. But it is pre-alpha. This is to the point where this game is early in development, and this is kind of like a demo build. They did recently just add a bunch of new modes, which we showed. I tried after recording this footage. The problem with this game is it's online only, so finding a group of people to fit...
Hard for pre-alpha.
Yeah, to fit 20 people is not easy. But the shout out to the developers, they give us a bunch of keys to give away, and I gave them to some of my streaming friends. I still have a couple left, so I'm debating whether we should give them away to them if anybody's listening.
Sure,
if you want one, hit me up, and I'll see if I still have one.
At Level2Gamers SDL.
Yeah. But this game is a third-person shooter, pretty much. That's what it is. And couple things. One, I suck with mouse and keyboard, and I suck with mouse and keyboard shooting.
You and me both, brother.
Like, I was good enough to stumble through it, and I think it's the developers were just owning us, because they should, because they were on there playing with us. But what it is the first game mode I played was team deathmatch. So murder the other team, first one to X number wins. What was with the map, what you had going on was you'd pick your character, and each character started with a different type of gun. And the character, they're not final character designs, but the characters they had in the alpha were very well done and very different, very diverse. You had this big burly dude with a giant gun. I like the assault rifle. I picked this soldier, skinny type dude with an assault rifle. This is what I started with. But when you go around the map, there's sniper rifles, there's
Do you think
shotguns.
That a lot of developers are taking cues from Overwatch in terms of their character development now, rather than making grunt number 1 and grunt number 2? Like, they're actually trying to make them more unique.
I would love that if they... I can't say for sure. I would love if that is the case, though, because Overwatch has...
Lawbreakers is something similar to that as well.
Well, that's the biggest knock on Lawbreakers is you have Overwatch. Like you're fighting Blizzard, and look what happened to what was it? Not Paragon, Battleborn. That just went. Psh.
Yeah.
But you have shotgun, sniper rifles. The one thing me and the footage we have is me and Blue Moon Gaming playing.
Shout out to Blue.
Shout out to him because he recorded some footage for us as well for another game that
we got friends that have been helping us lately. Shout out to Dave.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody.
Shout out to everybody for helping us out.
But one of the cool guns I picked up, and this is one of those moments where I was like, Blue, I'm going to shoot you. I'm sorry. Like, you can stand still. So I was going around the map, and I found in the side of an airplane, I found a Tesla cannon. And I was like, this has got to be good.
Electricity?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, before that, I had an assault rifle. I had a shotgun. Shotguns don't work on a long-range map, by the way. You don't want a shotgun when you're being sniped.
That's true to life.
Yeah. So I picked up the Tesla cannon, and he's standing at the bottom. I watched his perspective. He has it on his channel as well. And he was following me the whole time. And it's like, hey, we're gonna meet up. And I shot him, and on my screen, it's lasers going out and just shocking him. And then I see his character, like, convulsing. And I don't know if it's a glitch or if that's supposed to happen.
I mean, I imagine it's supposed to happen.
But then on his screen, it just looks like I'm like spitting ooze at him. And it was the funniest thing ever because, like, you know Rocket League, right?
Yeah.
You know when you boost with the Rocket League ooze, like I just psh, 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 that's what it looked like on his screen, but on my screen it's like zh, zh, zh. But I can't overestimate as a multiplayer fan how much fun I had. The maps were very diverse. The one map was very generic. The one you're going to see in the footage is very generic. It's definitely just a basic cityscape. But then they had a construction site. They had a swamp. They had I'm missing a train station. They had all these like the maps are very well thought out. The only complaint I think I had was some of the traversal wasn't the easiest. If you can
climb,
you can climb. I actually climbed onto a roof and. Fun story here. So I climbed, one of the last things we did was I climbed onto a roof and I was good to see if I could because I knew you could vault up. And I got on the roof and I go to Blue. I was like, hey, you want to see if you can get up here with me just to show you how to do it? And he got up there. We called a truce for like while we did it. Then he hops down. As soon as he hops down, I shoot him in the back because truce is over. I was like, hey, I told you I'd get you up there. I didn't tell you. I guess I did in this video.
I didn't say you could leave.
Yeah. Well, no, that game, I would love to follow development. If you want to, they have their Discord. They do. One of the things that the developer does really well is they understand that not very many people are playing the game currently because it's pre-alpha. And they have every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe, is what time. I think, yeah, because it's 1 p.m. our time. They do, hey, we're playing the game. And
Good
if you want, that's the best time to get in. Like we had at one point, I was playing with 7 or 8 people, which again for pre-alpha, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good. So you basically had a team going on. And me and Drew kept saying when we were playing by ourselves was like, this would be so much fun with a team of people. Like it's fun now, but there's one mode called it's basically you bust a safe and grab money and take it back to your point. And one of the things I kept saying is it's very easy to kill you on the way back to the bank because nothing's protecting it. But if you had a player, like you had multiple players, you'd obviously have somebody guard your bank. You'd have somebody else going out. Like I could see the strategy being involved in that.
So let's do the Google on this for fans of. So what would you say Misfits is for fans of?
First-person shooters, Call of Duty.
Third-person shooters.
Third-person shooters. But it's a Call of Duty game style with third-person shooting.
So it's like Division fans or
no, like again, first-person shooter feeling. Okay. In third person.
Interesting.
So again, it would be more of the Call of Duty's. Titanfalls is definitely the things that came to my mind when I was playing, just in third person.
So Division, the gameplay feels like a traditional FPS,
yeah,
but it's just
third person. Yeah, because it's not cover based. It's like it's go around the map and shoot people or collect things, do objectives, do control points, that kind of stuff. One of the devs when we were playing, we were doing a control map, and he hid in a tree, and I couldn't find him for the longest time, and I found him. I was like, you dirty fucker. Because he obviously knew he could get up there.
Dev.
Come on! But yeah, that was the Misfits. I enjoyed it. Cool. Had a lot of fun with it. I highly recommend it to anybody. The developer, I think, is Nidhogg Games.
Yeah.
Go look them up. They're awesome dudes.
It's an awesome name, too.
It is. I've got their... Nidhogg Games is comprised of a core group of experienced developers with 12-plus years of development experience. We've worked for large entity companies like Sony Online, Namco, Electronic Arts, Factor 5, and Rocketeer Games. Our focus is making AAA titles for free-to-play game consoles, PC, Mac, and mobile markets. Worked for some of the biggest studios and now have decided to plant our own flag and build a small indie studio for our unannounced third-party shooter. Now it's announced. We are technically minded, experienced, and driven to make memorable, engaging gameplay for all.
Awesome.
So
Nidhogg
Studio or Nidhogg Games.
It's a cool logo, too. So Misfits has looked really interesting.
I like how it's unannounced on their website. It's like the Misfits.
Partially the reason why I requested the key for that was because I did think it looked very interesting, and I'm glad
I told you need to play
it.
I need to learn how to keyboard and mouse.
I have a copy of the key. I just can't keyboard and mouse. I will try. I
need to try.
Promised myself, viewers and listeners, that I will try and learn a keyboard and mouse for you because I know that a lot of indie games start life on Steam.
Otherwise, I'm going to yell at you.
Do you want me to do one and then you go back to yours, or how do you want to play this?
You pick one.
All right, so
because we'll see how long it goes.
So my one you might have to steal footage for because I haven't recorded any, but it's I don't really know if I can qualify this as an indie game or not, but I want to talk about it anyway because I think at the price point that it's as close to like a sort of crossover between indie and AA. So I think it deserves a say, mostly because the thing that people enjoy the most about indie games is usually how unique they are and how the mechanics are something.
This one has a lot of controversy around it too.
Yeah, that you haven't seen before. But the game I'm going to talk about briefly is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And Hellblade is done by Ninja Theory, who released one of the launch titles for the PS3 called Heavenly Sword, which is, again, small experience, 4 or 5 hours. But the idea behind Heavenly Sword was that not only was it just a sort of a Devil May Cry hack and slash, but also you got to use a 6-axis for the first time. So when you shot an arrow, you were like controlling it with the controller as to how far it went. Small gimmick, but really fun. Really well done. And the touchpad and stuff came into play a little bit. So it's so with Hellblade, basic story is that the whole game is kind of a highlight for mental health issues set to the backdrop of a Viking tale. So it's really weird because I kept kind of thinking that maybe the whole thing was like a dream, that she was thinking she was a Viking and what have you. But basic story-wise is you are Senua. Senua has a boyfriend who's the only person that's ever understood her, and he died thanks to a plague that potentially she may have been patient zero for. And she decided she wasn't having any of it, and she was going to go to hell and get him back. Hell in this instance is Helheim, which is like Viking hell, right? So you go to hell, and you have to fight, menagerie of beasties and solve puzzles and things like that. The combat is super Dark Soulsy, which is rare for me to enjoy that, but I really did.
So it's a Jordan game.
Yeah, Jordan actually has already told me this is his game of the year so far, but there's more to it. So the combat being Dark Soulsy is just the fact that you have to really rely on things like blocking and parrying and sort of dodge rolling, as opposed to just being able to go hell to leather with it, because if you just go hell to leather, you're going to die every time. The enemies there was not a huge variety, but the varieties that there were very interesting, and everything was dealt with slightly differently. Like, you had to learn certain things to defeat each one successfully. But the atmosphere is what makes this game truly amazing. I have money down on a Kickstarter for a game called Agony, which is supposed to be the most, to air quote, realistic depiction of hell ever made in a video game. This game,
have a realistic depiction of hell when we don't know what hell looks like.
That's why I did air quotes. Yeah. But this game, to me, is so far the closest to my kind of mythological version of what hell might be. Like, there's lots of moments where you're walking through like a dark tunnel or through a swamp, like a chest level swamp, and there's just like hands and bodies coming out of the walls trying to grab you and stuff. But the really weird part of the game is this: the game is binaural, which means that we've talked about ASMR a little bit previously, but binaural just basically means that they have set it up so that you can hear it from multiple directions in a headset. So
otherwise, Sony calls it 3D sound for PSVR. Similar concept.
They tag it as binaural.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. But if you have a VR, if you do that, they have the same concept.
So yeah, it's like Dolby Surround for your ears. So basically, if you wear a headset, this game takes on an entirely new weirdness level. The entirety of the game, you have voices talking to you in the background like a real crazy person. So you'll just be like walking around doing your thing, and there's these little whispering voices saying, "Oh, don't go there, that's the wrong way." And then they'll be going, "Oh, should she go there? I don't know if she should go there." And they start talking to each other, and then you're just like, "Holy
welcome
shit,
to my world.
This is really creepy." And then just like so well done as far as a depiction of actual mental illness. And sometimes you're hearing a story or a part of the story, and you can't concentrate because of these things in the back of your head that you can hear, or they're telling you he's lying, and like all of this stuff, and it really fucks with your head, which I think is incredible. So graphically, amazingly impressive. Story-wise, amazing story. I don't want to call it a gimmick, but the addition of the kind of like mental health stuff is really powerful, and the entire thing is a joy to play. I finished it in 2 days, so not the hardest game out there, but really worth it for $30, which is what it released at. So I would say it's definitely borderline indie to AA. I'm including it purely because I think the unique aspects of how the game plays with the mental illness situation make it worthy of being unique and in the same category.
Did
as a solid
you
indie.
heard the controversy with it, right? When it comes to save files?
No.
So if you die too many times, it will delete your save file.
Yeah.
And that's been
that's part of the story, though. They tell you that at the beginning.
Yeah, but it's been a hot topic among different forums of like, what if I'm, I mean, you said it's a short game, but what if I played it for 3 hours and I lose all that progress? Like,
Get good.
Yeah, but to me, that would be like, I don't want to play.
Well,
anymore.
here's the thing: every time you die, you have this plague. So every time you die, you have this black kind of creeping stuff that goes up your arm, and then you die, and then you notice it's a little bit higher. But it's pretty lenient. Like there was sections where I redid it like 20 times over.
So it's not like a 3 death and you're done. It's not like old school Mario.
No, it's like at least like 50, I would say. Like I don't know what the exact number is, but I know that I got my ass handed to me several times. I had to redo certain fights like at least 20 times to get past it, and I did not die through the duration.
And I've not played it. This is based on what I've been hearing.
And
on different
I had
forums.
it going all the way up my arm by the end of the game, but I didn't die with it. So you have to be particularly bad at video games, because I am particularly bad. So you have to be particularly worse than me to not make it through that game. So I think that's a bullshit. That's the same people that were complaining about the static save points in Alien Isolation. Some games aren't made to hold your hand. Just get good or don't play them. Is my philosophy on that.
Speaking of getting good, this game, Elosi's Hunt, is basically what it's a shoot 'em up platformer in the vein of they call it like Metal Gear Solid meets Crash Bandicoot.
Just released on this week, right?
Yeah, this week
on PlayStation.
I played it this weekend. Got a key for it. Yeah, and I actually had Blue record footage because I couldn't get past the second checkpoint. And I was like, "This game is so hard."
And the text messages.
And he had the same response. He's like, "This game is hard." And I was like, "How far did you get?" He's like, "Oh, I made it to the second level." I was like, "Fuck you." I'm gonna do this. And then we got the PS4 because
you had the Steam codes.
Yeah, the Steam codes. I didn't use the Steam code because I was like, I'm not going to be able to do it on there. Yeah. But on PS4, so a couple things with this game. It is a platformer in the truest sense. You're, again, Crash Bandicoot. Picture you're in an alleyway. You can go straight. You can go left. There's things that are going to swat at you. I don't know what to call them. They're just like giant plants that come and go pow in the first level and just try and kill you. It's very unforgiving. One hit and you're dead, which is why it frustrated me, because sometimes you're like, how do I do this? That's
pretty hardcore.
I did find out later on, though, there's little yellow balls. Nothing tells you this. There's little yellow balls on the map that if you shoot them, they're health. And that's the only reason I was able to survive. If you see the footage behind me, I died, I think, maybe 15, 20 times on the last boss of the first level. So it was to the point where it's just like, geez. But I played it one time, and I was like, I'm done. Like I said, I sent you a text message like, fuck this game. It's so hard. I don't want to do it.
And it wasn't fuck this game because it was a bad game necessarily. It was fuck this game because it's really, really hard, and I can't be bothered to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so for hardcore.
And also, it was really early in the morning, too.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. So, but I want to go back to it. It was one of those things where, like, okay, it was hard. You take a break, get back to it. And it's obviously beatable because people have done it. Mainly the developers. Because the game's not out yet, but I went back into it. Like I said, I beat the first level, and it is a fun game. It has cool mechanics. I think the big issue I have is it doesn't tell you what those are right away.
It's not great at explaining the
No, so it's like you can jump, you can shoot. That's all you really know how to do, and you can dash. The dash is very important for avoiding enemies, like very important. Once I found that out, I was like, okay, this is how I use my dash. But then they have an upgrade system that I didn't even look at. Like I found it at the end of my thing. I was like, oh, I can upgrade stuff. They have different weapons that you can find. They have scrap that you find around the map. And there's different puzzles to solve. So like some areas you have to have a certain weapon to get to that point. So what you have to do is you can go forward to get a weapon, then come back to that area. What's really cool about this game, and I didn't even think about a game doing this, is they have checkpoints. And the game's so hard that I saved all my checkpoints. But you can destroy a checkpoint and get a speed boost.
Huh.
So say I do checkpoint 1, and I know I'm going to get past checkpoint 1 and can make it a checkpoint. I'm sure if I replayed it, I would probably plan it a little bit better. But checkpoint 1 I would destroy to get a speed boost and go to checkpoint 2, because I was always dying right after checkpoint 2. And then you get to checkpoint 3, I save checkpoint 3, delete checkpoint 4. And I love that concept because it lets you determine how hard the game's going to be. So at the end, though, I was like, when I get closer to the boss, I was like, I'm going to save all my checkpoints because I want to make sure they don't have to go do that fucking swingy arm flailing thing at me again because it took forever.
How is it graphically?
It's all right. I mean, it's what I expect it to be. It's not anything that's amazing, but it does not look bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's about what you expect. It's a $5 game, which
on sale as well.
Surprised me because I expected when we got it and I looked it up and I was playing it, I would easily pay $20 for it, maybe $25. So the fact that it's $5 makes me say, if you like platforming games and you're good with the hard difficulty, go ahead and pick it up.
Does it feel more like a retro platformer? You know what I mean?
It feels just like Crash Bandicoot. With
it's just like you have to just do it over and over again to get to where you need to be.
Yeah. So the one big issue I had with the platforming, because I'm pretty good at platforming in general because I love those type of games. There's one section where they had they're like branches off a tree, but they're on the ground, so they swing like this. So you can either jump onto it or you can run onto it when it's back and then it swings. You go to the next one and next one and next one. But the issue I have with that is that's already hard enough to make the jumps because it's hard to judge where you're going to land based on, because the camera is kind of isometric. But then there's one area where you jump. This is going on. This is going on. I jumped over here because I saw a checkpoint, and then a bird comes in and just kills me but you can't see it coming. That's where I got frustrated. Was I felt like I had no way of predicting certain things and have time to react to them.
There are a lot of people that love that though.
But once I learned where everything was,
the patterns.
And you're like, okay, I can beat it now. But it's because I learned. It's like we used to do it back in the day with Mario.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this there, that's there, and it got better as it went along. I'm interested to see level 2. Drew played a little bit of it, and it looks hard as balls. So one of the mechanics they introduced in that is they have beam floors that if you jump on them, it has a timer before it goes off. But then they also have a beam wall that will come up every so often to beam floor to another beam wall. So you have to time. It's all timing based because it's a platformer. But on top of that, you're getting shot at, and you have to be able to shoot. The mechanically, the one issue I had with the game, and I would say this is an easy fix technically, and I probably will let the developer know, is as soon as I hit R2 to pull out my gun, if I was facing this way, as soon as I pulled out my gun, I would face you. So if the guy's coming from this direction, I got to swing all the way back over here to shoot him. So that's how I died a lot. I was like, got to go over here. So I ended up actually turning my body to straighten out.
Interesting. So
I might let the developer know, say, hey, this is a thing, a bug I ran into. You might want to take a look at, but you get used to it. It was just one of those things where I think that of all the things that they did well, that was the one thing I think did poorly. And I also think difficulty should be tuned back at least a little bit on the first level.
Was there an option to change the diffime
Nope.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, remember though, we did get the key pre-release, so it could be that they've added that since. I haven't played the full release version, but I know that you had a lot of trouble with that one, but not necessarily a bad game.
It's not a bad game, it's just really hard. It reminds me of it's like Dark Souls, where it's like, it's not for everybody, but it is, as a platformer, I love those sections. Yeah. The sections I didn't like was when you had to go shoot everything up, because it's like,
if you want a solid platformer, bullet hell, hard as fuck game, at least pay attention to it for the price alone.
$5, it's so worth it. Yeah. Like I said, I thought it was going to be 20.
Cool. So I got a little bit more to go. I got Earthlock was a game that I played semi-recently. Now, Earthlock was an interesting one for me because it sort of bills itself as kind of like Final Fantasy Light, and I would agree with that. Basically, you are sort of in control of a turn-based battle system, which is, for a lot of old school Final Fantasy fans, like, we love that stuff. Like, it's, turn-based is the way to go. You would remember it from Battle Cakes as the type of battle system.
Or Pokemon.
Or Pokemon.
That's the only turn-based game I really played.
But you kind of, it's the way they lay it out. I
know what turn-based is, Tom. I'm not dumb.
Shush. I'm learning you. It's interesting the way they lay it out, because it's kind of like you only get 2 characters instead of like 4 or 5 or however many it normally is. One of those characters is a sort of an attack dealer, and the other one is a health dealer. So you only have the option of a healer and an attacker, and that's it. That's all you got. But
at least they give you a healer.
Yeah, I mean, at least they give you a healer to begin with, but it's a fantastic little game. It's very interesting story-wise. There's lots of exploration and things like that as well on top of the turn-based stuff. And every enemy in there is something that you can see. So it's not like you're just, like with Final Fantasy, you would walk around and then suddenly it'd be like...
It's like, again, Pokemon, random encounter.
Yeah, no random encounters. Everything is viewable. There is a lot of them, so it's really hard to avoid them. If you did feel like avoiding fighting, you'd have to do some serious skillage as far as trying to escape. But, from the little...
I'm assuming 3D?
Yeah. I mean, the running around scenes are mostly sort of slightly isometric top down, and the battle scenes are like 3D generated, but they are like a like an actual fighting game, you know, like side by side.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a very unique little title. I really liked the character development in there. There was some interesting guys in there. I started to care about them quite quickly, which I thought was interesting because I never usually get that attached to, even in Final Fantasy games, I never get that attached to the characters really, except for Final Fantasy X. But yeah, it was a really well put together game. And when it first came out, I think it was around the like 15 to 25 range. I caught it on a sale recently because I'd remembered watching the trailer for it and thinking that's a game that I want to pick up at some point. And I had a really good time with it. So solid storyline, cutesy graphics, not like nothing rugged or impressive. It's a graphics that you would like.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was
cartoony.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It's weird because like indie games are really hard to judge graphics just because there's so many different varieties of, and which is why I love them. Yeah, but it's like, is it good graphics? Yes. Is it mind blowing? No. Yeah, but it's good.
Yeah, I mean it's solidly.
It's
decent,
what you expect
for an indie. I mean, again, for what you're getting, it's pretty much what you expect.
Do you know the prices?
Off the top of my head, I don't. You might have to look it up. The one thing that I have been kind of warned of, and I didn't get far enough to really pay full attention to it, was that the game is not of a gigantic length. So, you know, with something like Final Fantasy or an RPG that you really want to dig into for like 100 hours or what have you, it's not really at that level. It's something that's going to be more similar to like an sort of 8 to maybe 20-hour game. So not insignificant, but definitely not like play it forever and ever and ever. $20 looks like the standard price for that guy. But yeah, I mean, really enjoyable.
It's got a 4.5-star rating out of 50 reviews on.
Yeah, very enjoyable. If you dig old school Final Fantasy style gameplay, if you like the cutesy graphics, if you like a bit of exploration, but in a sort of a very, like I said, very light, it's RPG light kind of a way, then
it looks a lot like Kingdom Hearts art style.
Without
the Disney feel.
A little bit cartoony like that. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm looking at the stills now because I've not looked at this game yet.
Yeah, but it's a good time. So yeah, I would highly recommend you check out Earthlock. It does tend to go on sale quite often, so you know it may be worth holding out for a sale if you don't want to spend the $20. But if you'd like,
$20 is one of the things I feel with indie games a lot of times. I'll buy them full price because they're smaller developers. Yeah, I mean, versus like a AAA where you're spending $60. It's like
it's definitely worth $20. Yeah. But if you're looking for a bargain, then just be aware that it goes on sale. Or if you
need to save some muns to get another game.
Last
thing I got, Nidhogg 2.
Yep.
First thing, I didn't know there was a first one.
Yep.
Apparently, it was a really well-loved game. So one of the first things I did before I played it is I went on to look at trailers to see what it was, and because we got the key for it, and I was like, let me figure out what this is, because I think you requested the key, but you weren't home, so I was like, I'll play it.
I'm a key whore.
Yeah, I was like, I'll play it, and I went on. I think it was IGN and GameSpot, and immediately the people were like, this one sucks. It's not as good as the first one. And as somebody who has no perception of what the first one is, I love this game. It was wonderful. And the first thing I said to you after I played it, because I almost did while I was recording, I was like, no, I should finish that way I don't have to pause the game, was we need to play this couch co-op or play this online because it is a wonderful experience. And what it is essentially is when you start, one of the first things I love is they have your character customization. And I have a video going through every single customization you can do, from colors to hair to arms to body and all that kind of stuff.
I saw that. Nice job for that, by the way.
I was like, just flip, 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 flip. And I did random ones. But the character customization was a lot more in-depth than I thought. And then when I got in, it doesn't really tell you what to do. It's just like, go! But it's such a simple game that it's easy to understand. So the premise is, I use the example of a tug-of-war game, is what essentially it is. You start in the middle of this map, and your goal, if you're this person on this side, or this person on this side, is get to the opposite side of the map. So if I go in and you start with some sort of weapon, either a sword, a dagger, whatever it may be, based on the map. So if I go in and I kill the person, I can then run that way. And there's an arrow saying you can progress versus this person can progress. I made a mistake at one point of running when I thought I'd killed the person, but he wasn't actually dead. And he started running the other way, so I had to catch. It made me spawn back to kill him to go back that way. Across the top, they have little boxes showing you how far you are, so how many boxes you have left to go. And at first, it felt like a button masher. That's what I was just mashing buttons because, again, I didn't really know what was going on. But you quickly learn one of the scenes, and it's the footage you'll see, is me playing with we're playing with swords. And one of the things you want to do is disarm the other person because it makes it way easier if you have a sword and they don't. It's logic, weapon versus not.
True to life.
So I learned how to kick and knock the sword out. Apparently, you can pick up swords too. I didn't find that out till after after I was done recording it. But it was
you half succeeded.
I mean, I won every game.
Kicked it out of his
I won
sword.
kicked him out of his hand. I love one of my favorite animations. This is just super gruesome. Is if they're on the ground and you kick them, you stomp on their face and it's paint, but it's guts everywhere. But it's really a fun game. I don't know personally by myself how much I'll play it outside of recording it for the show, but if friends got it, I could easily see it doing a game night, having that as one of the games you have in a game night, or maybe, I don't know, a charity live stream. Be a fun game to have up because it's that competitive, but it's not serious competitive.
It almost, like, I know this is probably a poor comparison, but the way you describe it almost sounds like you know that Mario arcade game where it's just you and Luigi like bouncing on each other's heads. That's kind of how I imagine this, but just to be a little prettier and with a full platforming thing. But the principle remains the same: twat the other person and run.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Pretty much. I'm trying to find the price. I want to say it's $20, but I don't know for sure. I should have written that
Just
down.
came out Tuesday, so yeah, I'm not sure if it's up on the store yet or not. But yeah, it's definitely not too expensive. But I do remember. Yeah, I mean, I saw the key for it. I saw there was a lot of hype behind it. I had not played the original.
I didn't even know there was
either. I mean, the number 2 gave away that there was a sequel. But outside of that, yeah, I wasn't too sure.
$15 currently on sale for your PlayStation Plus for $12.74. That's 15% off.
There you go. $12, $13. Can't argue.
Hey, I just want to say again, the PlayStation Store has a 5-star rating. Fuck you, IGN and GameSpot commenters.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who are rating this game are like the people who are like, I never played the first one. This one's fun.
Yeah.
So, the coolest things at the end, I'm going to show this picture because they'll see it. But that thing, whenever you beat a level, comes in and eats you. Like that's how you end the level.
Looks like a giant
worm.
What's that cord? Umbilical cord?
Yeah.
Where
the baby attaches?
With a unicorn horn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what comes in. That's what comes in attacks or eats you at the end of the level. That's how you know you won, is you get eaten by that thing.
Right there. That
so.
Or a tremor. Awesome. So my last game is it's actually a VR game, because that's right, guys, we're not necessarily saving all the VR for Codename Morpheus, so you'll have to watch multiple shows. Just kidding. But Neptune Flux is the game, and the reason why I'm choosing this is because it is playable in non-VR as well as VR.
Showing you real close to you there.
I happen to... I'll stroke your face. I happen to play it in VR because I like VR.
And I played it too.
Yeah.
We both played it.
So we can discuss. But Neptune Flux was another key that we got for a very interesting game. Like initially, I had no idea what it was about. I purposely didn't watch the trailer because I didn't want to know what it was about.
See, I saw the trailer and I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be good." It's one of those games. If done right, this will be good.
Yeah. I ignored it, and I was like, all right, let's just go deep in, see what happens. And then initially, like right at the beginning of the game, you're in a submersible going down to the deep sea, and all the sort of credits are rolling up, and I'm just like, oh shit. Like this is exactly.
And it's a good story.
Yeah, it's a solid story. It's very much kind of like you're in a weird place. The guy that's telling you what to do is
you're coming in because your mom was a scientist, but we don't know what happened to her. At least I haven't made it to where we find out what happened to her.
And
then you got to explore the ocean and kind of finish your work.
It's like a future ocean. That's the thing, because they have this kind of like this, I guess, base that you build out from. Much the same.
How long did it take you to figure out how to fix electricity? Because that took me, much longer than it should have.
Fix the electricity?
The very first puzzle. The very first puzzle.
Fucking forever. Yeah.
Like, because that's like, because this game doesn't hold your hand with what you need to do, which is good and bad. It's good because it's like, because there's not a lot. Again, it's one of those games that doesn't have a lot going on. It tells you the important things, like, here's how you shoot stuff.
Everything that you have to do, you have to find.
Yes.
Basically. But no. If you watch my playthrough that I did, the 30, 40 minutes of playthrough, you can see how bad I am at that game. I actually had to apologize for it in the comments because it took me at least like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
It probably took me 10 to 15 to solve that. Once I figured it out, I was like, I could rotate these. Duh. Like, dude, it seemed so obvious when you figured it out.
I guessed. Like, I didn't know. I got to a point where I was just flipping them all until something said done, and I was like,
did you not see because I didn't know you could flip the things. Once I found out you could flip them, I was like, okay, so this one's broken. This one's broken, so I need to connect this to this to
No,
this.
I knew they were flipping. I just still couldn't figure it out. I was having all kinds of... Because I wasn't really sure where they wanted me to reroute the electricity to. Anyway, missions aside, it's a lot of exploration, which is what I really dug about it, is that you have this kind of bubble that you're in where you're not running off of batteries because you're close enough to these generators that you don't need to
and
run
you can
batteries.
expand that with upgrades and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of cool.
So you can find these little underwater, I guess...
Thermal vents.
Thermal vents that you can put these special pieces of equipment over that extend the overall bubble before you have to
collect
start
scrap
using
to be able to buy upgrades, to buy those things.
Yeah,
like it's
scrap all over the ocean floor. But where it really comes into its own is when you start to discover these random artifacts in the ocean. So at one point you discover Amelia Earhart's plane.
I've yet to make it to that one.
There's a spaceship under there with a big triangle entrance, and once you get in there,
did you see the statue? I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin too much, but that statue was the first. Was the first thing. So there's a sonar system. So what I did is I hit the sonar and kind of the way I played it is I did the first mission, I did the second one they told me to do, and then I kind of just went exploring, and I hit the sonar, and then because you can see it flicker in the background, and you're like, what was that? And I go out to it, and I was like, oh shit!
Yeah,
like,
it's a
pretty giant statue.
Pretty scary statue. But no, I found a lot of shit. Like I found a train underground.
There's a submarine. Did you find a submarine?
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, there's a submarine right by the base.
No, a submarine was separate actually. There was something else. No, it was a submarine that I found, but there was like a boat or something, like a ship.
Yeah, there's a ship.
But all these kinds of crazy shit anyway. And
I couldn't figure out how to get into some of these things though. That was
the only one I solved was Amelia Earhart's plane. But then when you solve that puzzle, you find like a radio transistor somewhere and you put it on the plane, and then you get this like magic piece of a puzzle. Which then later you find this kind of like Aztec-y looking entrance to this temple, and then you put the one piece of the puzzle on there, and you're like, oh, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Now I have to go to all these other places, solve whatever's going on there, get these pieces, and get into this thing. So it really does start to unravel in a very kind of mysterious way, super mysterious, and the person that is guiding you through the majority of it is super shady. So, but as far as like being in a submersible, it was very... felt very good. It felt almost like it was like a faster, more zippier version of Time Machine VR.
Well, they also had the speed boost you could do as well. Yeah. So like,
but even
if you're running low on
battery
battery
stuff, you know, it felt
well, one of the things is we both played in VR. Like you said, it's non VR and VR, and I think this is one of the games where playing in VR enhances it. I kind of want to play it not in VR. I guess that's a lie. I played it for like maybe 10 minutes not in VR, just kind of get a comparison, and it was fun. It was still a good game. But we've said it before that a game that not in VR that is exciting in VR may not be as exciting. Yeah. Because you don't have the sense of scale, you don't have this kind of stuff.
I'm surprised they released it not VR, honestly.
But the puzzles helped. Yeah. So like solving puzzles is puzzle solving. Doesn't matter if you're in VR or not. The experience is just way more of being in the ship when you are in VR.
Yeah, the immersive level is really tight, and the fact that you're under ocean, for me, that's a fear I have. I think it's called thalassophobia or whatever. It's like the fear of the open ocean. But
I was waiting for a giant monster to show up.
I was waiting for something. Yeah, there's schools of fish here and there that you can zoom in on and just kind of hang out with. But super creepy. It's almost like it harkens back to parts of BioShock, but not quite, because of all these like why is there a spaceship in the ocean floor? You know what I mean? There's certain mysteries that pop up throughout your experience. I had a great time with it though. I would highly recommend it, and it's only like $8 or $9. Really cheap VR game. Again, we got the code, so thank you to the developers for that. We're not praising it because we got the code. We're praising it because it's actually a fun experience.
Yeah, it's weird because we've always said it's that weird fine line of like, just because we got the code doesn't mean we have to like the game.
No, I'm never gonna like completely shit on the game unless it's the worst thing in the world ever. In which case, I will.
Well, that's like
I will give constructive criticism to a game.
Well, like with Elosi's Hunt, like at first I was like, "Fuck this game, it sucks," and it wasn't because it was a bad game, just because it was so fucking hard. There was a good game there, it just was difficult to get through. So
that's a frustration level as opposed to anything about the game.
The mechanics themselves were fine, other than, like I said, the one glitch where the gun would point. But I assume that's something he could fix in a patch, or they could fix in a patch. So let's move on to the final detail.
Let's do it.
Which is our question topic. I got to pull up the sheet here because I don't remember what it is. Oh, does platform matter when deciding where to release a game? So this came up literally probably like a half an hour before we started recording, because City Skylines is out on PS4 now. And Escapist 2 is coming out. I think the Escapist is also on console as well.
Yes, and all the DLC.
Those both started on PC.
Yep.
And we've talked about how a lot of games start on PC and then move to console.
Get ported.
So the reason this question came up is I've not played City Skylines on PS4 or Xbox. Azili, she has a code. Go check her out, twitch.tv/Azili, Ezilii, I believe. I always forget.
Or at watch_Ezili,
on Twitch.
Ezilii on Twitch.
She's probably going to have streams of it here shortly with it. But the reason this came up is I have City Skylines on PC, on Mac. I don't know how well it would translate to Xbox or PS4 for two reasons. One, mods makes that game wonderful. Like, that's one of the few games where I'm modding it to the shit out of it because I want Bob's Burgers in there. I want Moe's Tavern. I want to be able to adjust traffic to fix kind of the things that I don't think the game does well, be able to manage it. The other thing is controls, because there's so many things to do. There's so much going on where, like, on the Xbox, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same on PlayStation version because I watched somebody play the Xbox version, is you have to scroll through menus to get to what you want versus taking a mouse and just click. So that was thing number one. Thing number two, the same thing with the Escapist. There's just so much going on when it comes to management and be able to do things. Like, timing is important on some of this stuff. What is your thoughts on deciding, A, what platform to release on? Clearly, we're both majority console guys, but we do dabble in PC stuff as well. And do you think all games work on all platforms?
So, I mean, I'll say this. I'll say there is a way, I think, to make most games work in a console world if they started life as a PC game.
Or a mobile game if you're PlayStation.
Yeah, or a mobile game. So, like, for example, Dragon Age was very, very popular on the PC. And when it came to console, people were just like, okay, how the fuck am I going to control this game? There's too much going on. Where's my hotkeys at? Where's this, that, and the other? And they kind of came up with this unique dynamic where they would slow down time while you were deciding what to do. So if you're in the middle of a fight and normally on the PC, you'd be like, boom, 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 here you go, here's a fireball or whatever. The fact that you
had to type in fireball.
The fact that you had to, like, you know, use the controller, as soon as you hit this button on the controller, there was like a radial menu, they would be like, okay, everything would go in slow motion. So you'd have that extra time in order to decide what to do next, and it felt like they gave you this kind of leeway for being or using, I don't want to say an inferior input method, but definitely one that is not designed for the game.
Well, there's less input buttons.
Right. And don't forget that a lot of people play PC games with a controller anyway because they're more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But
because I've always thought with like Elder Scrolls Online, because there's certain things like when it comes to like using potions, I don't use it because of how hard it is to do sometimes to be able to do it quickly. If I had a button that I could push to do it, like I think I would use them more. So there's some games where I feel like the core game doesn't get hurt, but there's some times where there's things that I don't do because
I think
of
everyone who
input.
plays the PC version would be able to outplay anyone playing it on a console if it's a competitive type of game. For example, recently, you guys know I got huge into esports, and I've been watching Counter-Strike.
Me too, but not Counter-Strike.
Every fucking day.
I've been watching Overwatch.
Basically. When I watch Counter-Strike, it pisses me off that I can't play it because I want to play it so bad.
You would be so bad at it.
I would be horrible.
First of all, you can't keyboard and mouse, so keyboarding mousing a shooting game is way harder.
I know. And also the people that do play it are fucking like ledges. So I
my friend Kat, you know, Kat does things on Twitch and YouTube. She just got a PC that can actually run games now.
Yeah.
She had one that was a bit sketchy. And she got Overwatch on PC, and she was playing it on there, and she put a post the other day on Twitter. She goes, I made the mistake of using a controller in Overwatch on a PC because the input's so much slower, and she's like, I will get headshotted like that.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting because I've thought about buying it for PC eventually and just seeing the differences. But after playing Misfits, I'm like, nope.
I want to learn, though. Like, I want to be able to control it at that speed because I think that adds to the competition level of it. And I think that I would like to be able to
go pro, Tom.
As quick as
one of these days, Tom's going to go pro CSGO. I'm going to go pro Overwatch.
MLG pros, right here.
I mean, you got the Twitch.tv Able Gamer shirt.
Yeah.
Represent.
Yeah, that's my
that's
heart.
That's our sponsors. Not really. They're awesome, though.
they are. But yeah, so the keyboard and mouse holds me back as a console Neanderthal that I am. But I can see that there is always some kind of a concession that can be made to allow those. But the problem is the word concession. It's the fact that they do usually have to tweak something in order to make it completely playable.
And does that tweak kind of destroy the experience of the game? So like for me,
sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So like for me, like City Skylines is a prime example where the way they've done it is the bottom menu has buttons that are bound to do certain things. So like if you need to zone, you click whatever the button is to open up the zoning menu. Then under there you can scroll through and click it. That's too slow. Like that's a lot of button pushes to do one thing. I think
time is the key factor though as well, because depending on how fast you have to do something is going to depend on your enjoyment of the game.
Yeah.
So the slowing down time in something like Dragon Age makes sense, but if they're not slowing down for a game like City Skylines, where you do need to do something particularly fast because everything's going to shit or whatever, then yeah, that's a hindrance.
To fix the road.
That's a hindrance. So yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think that personally, I want to play all the games. Like we're both huge gamers, obviously. That's why we have the fucking channel about them. But at the same time, there's so many experiences that I feel personally that I miss out on because I don't know.
I mean, the big one for me right now is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. Like that's the one.
Everyone loves that game.
It's coming to Xbox, and I might get on Xbox, but I'm waiting personally for it to potentially be announced on PS4 because that's where all my friends are. And it'd be fun to play on Xbox because we got Two Bit Monkey and a couple friends that I know are going to pick it up. But the majority of my friends are PS4, and if they come to PS4, that's the place I'm going to want to play it. But that game has just got me so excited. Granted, they have a few announcements about loot boxes and all this kind of stuff that I'm a little bit iffy on. The fact that they are integrating loot boxes before the game's fully released, I have a bigger issue on.
Yeah.
But
it's still technically alpha right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's early access.
Early alpha, yeah.
So, I mean, it's... I think like you said, I think every game has the ability to somewhat function on all platforms. I think the amount of how that game functions depends on the game itself and what
it's case by case.
Yeah, purpose of it is. Yeah. I think, to me, again, I think RPGs, I feel like an RPG control-wise is a lot better on a keyboard and mouse just because of the number of buttons you can bind to be able to do things. Does that mean I won't enjoy an RPG on a console? No. That just means I think that PC people have a little bit of an advantage. You hear PC Master Race, which fucking drives me crazy. But I understand where they're like, oh, I feel superior because I can do this and this, this and this. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm missing anything when I'm playing on console. There's certain things, like I said, other than maybe like potions and Elder Scrolls, but it's not like that breaks the game for me. Yeah, I can bind something.
You could do it if you really wanted to figure out.
I've gotten better. I've gotten better at it.
I just hard. Put health at the up button on the D-pad, and that's what I need.
See, but the problem is I put like my emotes and stuff on there, so I do the important things, Tom. Yeah, the important things.
Gotta have the chair.
Yeah, gotta have the chair. Also, the bucket of water.
So, what do you think about this question from the viewpoint of a developer? Does it make more sense for them to be able to put it on console first and port to PC, or do you think PC is always a better first
I think PC is always the better route.
I think so. The Glogo guys as well, they were like, we want to go console first, which was surprising to me because every other developer said they wanted to go Steam first.
I think there's two reasons. One, just player base. The PC player base trumps the console player base just because of how many people are out there and how many computers are out there. But with that, it comes to fragmentation, so not everybody can run everything. So you got to deal with that. That's one of the reasons we tend to not go PCs, because you have to have certain specs to do certain things. And granted, now most games have a baseline that you go to, and you can just adjust settings up and down. But I think from a developer standpoint, you develop a game on a PC, you test it on a PC, you don't make a game on a console. They have boxes to test it. I would love to see how hard it is, like Sonic Mania. Came out on Switch and came out on PS4.
That's on Switch?
Yeah.
Dude, picking it up.
It's on Switch and PS4.
Can't wait.
It was delayed on PC because the port was having issues. So to me, that tells me they developed the game for console and then ported it to PC. And they had, I don't know if it's the same developer or usually it's a different team that's doing the port. So I would love to see how, I don't know the technical side of how hard it is to port something, but...
Sonic would drive me fucking mad with a keyboard and mouse.
I mean...
I guess you wouldn't even really need the mouse that much. It would just be mostly keyboard.
Depends what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just run and jump.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of it comes down to is I think from an indie developer specifically, because that's what this podcast is about, is how to get the game into most people's hands. And I think PC's first. And I also think that's because that's where games are developed. And then console, I think obviously PlayStation would be the next no-brainer, and then Xbox, and then Switch. I think Switch will eventually get up there when time comes along.
Switch has been pretty good for indies, it has to be said. Like, obviously, you have your big ones, the Nindies. Obviously, there's
certain games I want to play on Switch.
But, like, and a lot of the games they're releasing are old games, but, like, I was having a conversation with a friend from work the other day about indies on Switch, and he was saying that he's played a lot more indies than he has any of the first-party games. Like, obviously, he played through Zelda and things like that, but he put something like 200 hours into The Binding of Isaac, just because he really likes that game. And, you know, things like Rocket League coming over there, like those games.
Or Snake Pass. Yeah. Like that game, to me, if I were to buy that game, if I could buy that game because of my fear of snakes, I would play it on a Switch.
Yeah.
Just because it fits that environment.
And there's a running joke in the indie industry right now, which we ran into a couple times in Pixel Pop, where everyone was just kind of like, everyone says, oh, you know what, this would be really good on? A Switch. And, you know, it's kind of funny because, yes, it's a portable console that is designed for small experiences.
I'm sure that's really hard to do, just because I don't know, again, guts wise,
input wise, that
kind of
things
thing.
like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think in the Switch space for more indies, and of course we will be covering those for this show as well, just the same as every other thing. Good thing to remind you that Indie Please Add Details is going to be a show for all indie games on all platforms. So we're going to be covering, if we can get it, Windows games. We'll have our friends record that footage since we don't have a current gaming PC. Maybe that's something we can look into getting on a Patreon or something.
Support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Level2GamersSTL.
Both of our Macs are able to run Mac stuff, but there's obviously less Mac stuff out there than Windows stuff. And we have pretty much every console out there as far as all the new stuff. So it will be covering all aspects, and I think we covered that question pretty good, unless you have more to add to it.
Nope.
So we ask you guys, what do you think about releasing indies for platforms? Do you think, for the developer standpoint, it makes sense to go PC first? And do you think, as a player standpoint, you maybe lose out if it goes one over the other before being released on the next iteration? So good question for you. Leave a comment below if you're with us on YouTube. If you're listening and you want to add to the conversation, head on over to level2gamers.com, find this video,
or hit us up on Level2Gamers
put a comment in there. Yeah, or just hit us on the Twitter, because we love to chat to people. We're very friendly, I promise.
You ready for the rigmarole?
Go for the rigmarole.
This is our weekly dip into indie games and indie developers, where we discuss the news, our indie excursions throughout the week, topping off with a discussion that you can join. I don't know, we just had one. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast service or see us on level2gamers.com, including some extra game footage behind us in our lovely studio. If you want to continue the conversation offline, or I guess technically still online, after the show, head over to Level2GamersSTL on Twitter. Nailed it, kind of.
You'll get better.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 in 1 episode is good.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Can I try it real quick? I'm going to try this. You ready? I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to do it in English. This is our weekly dip into the world of indie games and developers, where we discuss the news and our indie excursions from throughout the week, topping it all off with a discussion that you can join. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast service, or see our lovely faces and additional game footage on YouTube at level2gamers.com. To continue the discussion after the show, hit us up on Level2GamersSTL on Twitter. There you go.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
So thanks a lot for listening to the first episode of Indie Please Add Details. And we'll see you tomorrow, guys, for not Project Morpheus, Codename Morpheus.
Project Morpheus.
We're going to chat about some Fizzar.
If you guys have any feedback on this style, if there's anything you think we need to add, or if there's any game you think we should discuss or cover, let us know. Send us a link down below. Again,
if you are a developer,
hit us, email us at, I actually made an email just for this. I don't know if you noticed it, but it's devs at level2gamers.com. Sorry, no, STL. Devs at level2gamers.com. So hit us up with press kits, keys, whatever it may be. Would love to get in touch with you.
We will cover any game. Don't give a shit.
I mean, that's not true.
I mean, I put anything up there. He's a
whore.
Class than me. I'm a game whore.
So
thanks a lot for listening, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. And as always,
welcome to the second level.
Bye-bye.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.